It's Friday. Woohoo! How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is going to have a great weekend. I am going to do two reviews today. My first video is going to be about I Will Find You on Amazon, and then later I'm going to do another on a new documentary. So I hope you will check out both. But the first, we're going to do I Will Find You. It's an on screen adaptation of Harlan Cohen's I Will Find You. The premise is about a professor named David Burrows, and he's wrongfully in prison for murdering his son. And after being in prison for 5 years with no visitors, his sister in law visits him with a photo, and it looks like a child who is the same birthmark or has the same birthmark on his cheek as his son, that he was told that it would eventually go away. I'm just going to do episodes 1 through 3. That's where I'm at. And I'm probably going to finish at some point, either today or Saturday. So far, so good. I think this is a very well written series. The acting is really, um, it's just chef's kiss. But he is been in prison. He hasn't had any visitors. And then there is a prison guard that is from the beginning, you notice how sketchy he is, and then you realize how sketchy he really is when he's listening to David and Rachel's conversation when she comes to visit, and then he's starting to message some mystery person. We don't know who they are just of yet, but we definitely know early on in the series that he was set up. And from the flashbacks from his trial, we have a neighbor that's giving testimony, but her nonverbals to me were giving that she knew that she wasn't telling the truth. So somebody was making her give false information. And the show pretty much is all gas, no brakes. So he actually is very close friends with the warden of the prison that he's at, and the warden's been keeping an eye on him, keeping him safe, because going to prison as a child murderer is the worst thing you can go as into prison being. And he starts to believe David when he tells him that his son is still alive, because he knows him and just knows he loved his son so much and could not see him being a killer. And he goes to his father and they have some conversation, and you can definitely sense how close the family is. And the warden's son is also a police officer who helps David escape. So the first episode, he does the prison break with the assistance of them. And then we have the FBI jump in and they're starting to investigate, and they can smell like something's not right here. This wasn't just that he got lucky and got out. But also, these FBI agents aren't stupid. From the beginning, they're sensing what it appears is not as it is, because the day before David escapes, the prison guard comes to his cell late at night, just really like, I need you to come with me. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? Well, he tries to kill him, and he does end up defending himself. But of course, when everything is being investigated, David's the problem and the guard is not, even though he was trying to kill him. So we definitely know the guard is being controlled and being instructed what to do and to kill him through the series. So, episode 2, we start to go into the investigation of David's escape, and Phillips, the prison warden, explains or tells his story about the escape. But the FBI agents, Max Williams and Sarah Greer, that are assigned, and their um, father daughter, so you see a little bit of that dynamic in the relationship too. They go back to David's cell because they had requested everything being removed, but the person who was in the cell next to him did tell them that, hey, he was removed from his cell by the prison guard, and that if you give me his flashlight, I'll tell you more. So when they got all his belongings from his cell, the flashlight was not in there. So that prompted them, like, hey, we didn't get everything. Stuff is missing or in hiding or something. So they go back to David's cell and they pull back his sink and they find a case file. So David asked for the case file after Rachel visited him because he wants to see what was done and get as much information about the case. So they realize, okay, he asked for the case file. It's all coming together. They're trying to figure out where is David going to go next. So the witness that was like his grand slam that got him into prison was Hildy Winslow. And then she, after the trial, just disappeared and goes by a new name and moved to New York City and is just a recluse. So David and Rachel are on their way there, but these intelligent FBI agents are like, okay, we're headed that way too. That has to be where he's going. So episode 2 really starts to delve into them trying to keep one step ahead of the police. And you also see that the prison guard, he is nervous and he knows that he hasn't kept up his end of the bargain. And we come to find out he's been getting $1,000 a month from whoever is involved in David being wrongfully convicted and accused and trying to control him in prison. He even goes to the point to set David up for work detail, which hasn't been done in like forever, like laundry detail. And he is in there with another criminal who or serial killer who has murdered 11 people, and Dave pretty much sets David up to be murdered by him, but David fights him off and he survives. um so you see him get a mystery phone call, and it's whoever is his handler, and they give him one final instruction. And that final instruction we figure out is to erase the audio from his visit with Rachel. So we know that they're still doing everything they can. And David and Rachel actually do make an appearance at his house after his family leaves, and he tells them to stay back, which I feel like he knew that his time was coming, that they were coming to whoever the entity or the group or whoever's responsible for handling him, they were coming to take his life. He knew like he was at the end of his rope. And him and David actually confront each other, and he, pretty much tells him, which I almost feel bad for him in a sense because he's like, my hands were tied. I had no choice but to do this. And he ends up shooting himself. So the cops barely missed him and Rachel during that interaction as well. And they get away and then they head to the city. And we end up getting into Rachel's love life a little bit. So, backstory: Rachel is David's sister in law, and she once worked for the Boston Globe, and she lost her job because a source for her story unalived herself after what the Globe deemed her tactics to get information as too aggressive. So she's had a really hard 5 years. David's ex-wife, she is actually moved on with her life, and she has remarried, and she's actually has a baby on the way. She has a baby girl on the way. So we end up with a pretty much episode 2 pretty much ends in New York and with them on David's tail and pretty close. And Rachel's ex-boyfriend, actually, which at the beginning I wasn't crazy about him, but he's actually growing on me as the series continues. She asked him for a favor if she could stay at his place because they can't go to a hotel. Obviously, everyone's looking for them. So he offers to let them stay, but he goes and looks at his security camera and he sees them in his house and is obviously, for reasons, what the heck is going on. Um okay, and then in episode 3 we end up with Rachel getting arrested, and she is in custody, and David is still at her ex's boyfriend's house, Hayden, who is very, very wealthy. And that does come into play, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. And he's always been in love with Rachel, it seems like, or he and her, there's a flashback moment, and you'll see that actually in episode 4, or no, I apologize, episode 3, that they dated and they go over that he broke up with her and then he finally got his stuff together and realized it's too late. She's never coming back. And she is pretty much tells him that he'll always be in the friend zone. So it is this push and pull, but he would do anything for her. So he ends up getting Rachel a lawyer after she's detained, and they end up actually Hayden, David, and Rachel are now all together trying to prove his innocence, while everyone, as far as David's father and Lenny, are trying to work with a private investigator. They're trying also to prove that he is innocent. And you have multiple things and movements going on at the same time, and then you see Hildy the next morning going to a park to meet whoever is running this organization, or whoever is like the group leader, to talk about what's going on. And she does confess to David that she did lie, but she had no choice. And from what it sounds like, everybody really doesn't have any choice, whoever the syndicate is that is running everyone. And then we do have a flashback at the end of the episode, or flash forward, let me apologize, and you see that the son is alive and well, and he's in the custody of a mystery woman. We still don't know who she is. So we're still at the point of who's who, what's going on, but it's getting good. There's some good momentum. Like I said, it's constantly going. There's never a dull moment. Um, there's going to definitely be, I think, people that are closely related, or even just people that you at least expect that have something to do with David being accused of a crime so horrible that he didn't commit. So I'm interested when we get the gotcha moment. There's a lot of red herrings though. So I think we won't get to that for, I'd say, maybe episode 5, maybe 6, and then maybe the rest of the series is going to be to just tie up the loose ends. So definitely go check it out and tell me what you think. Bye.